Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you, and coming up on today's show, the 2025 NFL Draft is over. So we are going to give you my Philadelphia Eagles 2025 NFL Draft grades. Before we do all of that, take a look at every prospect and really take a look at what they're bringing to Philadelphia and the why and all of the reasonings behind why the Eagles drafted them. Let's start off with this. Last year, for our 2024 draft grades video, we picked up 99 new subscribers. On this video, for the 2025 draft grades, let's beat it, let's crush it. Hit that subscribe button if you want informative, insightful, thought-provoking, entertaining Eagles coverage that comes your way on YouTube every single day from yours truly. Then hit that subscribe button and go Birds. On night one in the NFL draft, the Eagles kicked things off by trading up from 32 to 31 to take Jihaad Campbell out of Alabama. Now, I'm interested to see what the Eagles' plan is for him and how they plan to utilize him, because when he was at IMG Academy in Florida, he was recruited to Alabama as an edge rusher. But then Alabama had a few injuries, and he ended up playing off-ball linebacker, and he played very, very well. I think what the Eagles should do with Campbell is tap into his versatility, take advantage of it. This is a special and unique player who you can use in a variety of ways. He has shown coverage skills. He also has a knack for getting after the quarterback. You can use him as a blitzer in between the tackles. You can use him as an edge rusher because he has the measurables and the ability to do that. He was Alabama's best defensive player in 2024, and he truly broke out this past year. Good size and athleticism with a proven ability in run support, blitzing, and in pass coverage. I think his instincts as a linebacker can still improve, but I think he shows a pretty good feel for the game because of his background as an edge and as a linebacker. Philadelphians and Eagles fans worldwide will love how Jihaad Campbell plays the game of football. He is a heat-seeking missile. He has blazing sideline-to-sideline speed. He will not shy away from contact. He will knock and take your head off. And at 6'2", 235 at the NFL Combine, able to clock a 4.52 40-yard dash in 2024, 11.5 TFLs, 5 sacks. The Eagles had him as a top 10 player on their big board. Howie Roseman said, "We tried to trade up to get him. Teams boxed us out. So we waited and waited and waited, and then all we had to do was trade one of 4 fifth-round picks to move up from 32 to 31 to get our guy." The value, the player, the fact that he can be a chess piece for Vic Fangio, I love this pick for Philadelphia. So I am giving the selection of Jihaad Campbell an A grade. We'll continue to monitor that shoulder injury because it's definitely a little bit of a concern. A labrum repair. He might have to miss some time in 2025, but you don't know what the future is of Nakobe Dean coming off the knee, going into the final year of his deal. I just think that Vic Fangio will have so much fun using Campbell as a chess piece all over the defense, and he is a dog. In round 2, Howie Roseman said after night 2 that the Eagles thought about trading out of the 64th overall pick. They did not want to risk losing Andrew Makuba, safety out of Texas. To me, this is a little bit of a reach. I think the Eagles could have traded out and still gotten Makuba, but he's an interesting player for a variety of reasons. Started his college career at Clemson, transferred to Texas. At Clemson, he was a nickel. At Texas, he was used as a deep safety. And he was truly a ball-hawking player when he was in college. High football IQ, reacts quickly in coverage, has a good feel for what's happening on the football field. He was definitely more comfortable playing deep at Texas, more so than a box safety role. But Howie Roseman said something very interesting. He said, box safeties in the NFL are no longer a thing. They're going to plan on using him as a nickel. I like that positional versatility. The other thing that stands out to me about Makuba is that he is not afraid to come up and make plays against the run. He will shoot gaps. He will take really good angles. Among all safeties in college football last year, he had the lowest passer rating when targeted. And he reminds me a lot of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. The versatility, fearlessness, the spirit in which he plays with, the energy that he brings to the field, how even though he's undersized at under 190 pounds, he's fast, he's a 4-4 player, and he's not afraid to use his body. And he had a Pro Football Focus overall grade last year of 90. I have concerns about the lack of size. Like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he does miss some tackles. But the Eagles in this draft really prioritize players who can help the defense take the ball away. And Makuba is one of those players who forces a lot of game-altering plays. He had 11 pass breakups this past year, 5 interceptions, and you really see the speed in which he plays with, the IQ in which he plays with. 4.45, 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, just gets shot out of a cannon. And on that back end for the Eagles, you now have 2 safeties in Makuba and Blankenship who have the ability to make big-time plays, come through with pass breakups and interceptions, who are ball-hawking players. I thought it was a little bit of a reach, which is why I'm going B-. I worry about him missing tackles. I worry about the lack of size. I worry about some of the injuries that popped up throughout his college career. He does have shorter arms and a shorter wingspan, but sometimes you can forget all of that. Can you play with instincts? Can you play with feel? Can you make plays on the football? Can you make plays against the run? Can you make your presence be felt? And I love what Howie said. He plays an Eagles style of football. And so Jihaad Campbell, Andrew Makuba are truly Eagles guys. In the 4th round, after the Eagles traded out of the 3rd, making a couple of moves to load up on draft picks for later in the draft and in the 2026 class, the Eagles took Ty Robinson, defensive tackle out of Nebraska. And I like him. He is a huge person. He is built like an oak tree. 6'5.5", 288 pounds. And he ran a 4.83 40-yard dash at the Combine. He can really move. He's big, thick, and strong. He's stout at the point of attack. He is not easy to move. Has that thick frame combined with burst at the line of scrimmage with a really strong anchor. He's a power rusher with aggressive counters, an eye for batting the ball down at the line. The last 2 years, he has combined for 10 pass breakups. Campbell has experience. Makuba has experience. And Robinson is a player, to his name, 60 games played and 47 starts. And he was in college starting in 2019. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year college player. Helped to turn around that Nebraska program under Matt Rule. Matt Rule, former Temple coach, loves the guy. And he can move mountains from that defensive tackle spot and help the Eagles replace Milton Williams. It's very rare to find a player that big who moves this quickly, and he just has an NFL body, and I think that he will be ready to play from day one as a rotational player alongside Jordan Davis, alongside Jalen Carter, and Moro Ajomo. My grade here, value, really good once again, B+. And edge, off-ball linebacker, safety, and defensive tackle were all needs for the Eagles going into the draft, and so far with our draft grades, you've noticed they were able to check off all of those boxes. Then the Eagles were next on the clock, round 5 at 145, is how he was really making a lot of trades down in this draft. That tells me they didn't love a lot of the talent in this draft class, and they take McWilliams with the 145th pick. And McWilliams, like Andrew Makuba, is a smaller defensive back. So it's a little bit odd how the Eagles took 2 DBs who are both smaller in McWilliams and Makuba, and both have some injury histories. McWilliams started off at UAB, played at UCF in 2024, played mostly outside in college, but I think he's likely going to move to the inside at nickel. I would love to see Cooper DeJean stay there. I think Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks can hold their own on the outside opposite of Quinyon Mitchell, but you did lose Avonte Maddox to the Detroit Lions, and McWilliams might be able to help you with depth along the inside. McWilliams does have good quickness. He definitely excels in short areas. The undersized nature with poor length, inconsistent tackling results, and injury concerns are why I don't love this pick. He can run really well, 4.41, 40-yard dash in the pre-draft. He has transitional quickness in both man and zone. The open field movements are abrupt and clean. He's patient in process. He has a knack for ripping the ball out of ball carriers coming through with pass breakups. So this is another DB like Makuba who can make plays on the rock. And the Eagles really do prioritize that. 11 pass breakups in 2022, 9 in 2023, 3 in 2024, with a couple of forced fumbles and some TFLs. He will make plays against the run like Makuba. But I think this, too, is a little bit of a reach. And it's cool with me if you go Makuba, who's undersized and missed tackles and has injury concerns, for one guy. But to take two DBs who both have similar issues, that's why I give this a C grade. A lot more to get to here for our Eagles draft grades video, but we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Chubbies. We really appreciate them for powering our draft grades video, but also our NFL draft coverage over the last 3 days. Look, April is here. Spring is in the air. Summer is coming up around the corner. This ain't the time for fooling. It's the time to let those thighs breathe, whether you're playing a round of golf with the fellas, hitting up a beer garden, visiting an actual garden, going to the beach, going to a pool. Chubbies has you covered for all of the good vibes that warm weather brings. If you want bright polos that demand attention, check. Killer shorts, double check. If you want to go to the pool or the beach, they have great swim trunks. The Classic Line Swim Collection has your new favorite trunk for those sunny days. For everything non-water related, their original shorts provide that classic look with a fresh vibe and a modern fit. And for a mix of laid-back style and performance, you have to try their everywhere shorts. Look, at the end of the day, your wardrobe deserves a spring and summertime upgrade. So for our loyal viewers, our real ones, for a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners, our viewers, 20% off your order with our exclusive code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com/chat. Experience unmatched comfort and style with Chubbies' iconic gear. We will put this link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, and again, we appreciate Chubbies for being a great sponsor and making today's show possible. Back to round 5, 161 further down on the draft board. The Eagles take Smael Mondon Jr., linebacker out of Georgia. You knew at some point Howie Roseman was going to have to tap back into the Georgia pipeline. This roster is littered with high-level players. From Alabama, hello, Jihaad Campbell. And then the Eagles had to scoop up another Georgia Bulldog. Coming out of high school, Mondon was a very highly touted recruit. He was the number 4 recruit in Georgia, number 2 linebacker in the state, number 35 recruit nationally. And right away, he was able to have an impact for the Georgia Bulldogs for some great ball clubs. He played in 15 games as a freshman, 13 games, 13 starts as a sophomore, 13 games, 11 starts as a junior, and then this past year, 10 games and 8 starts. Long-armed athlete, 80 and an eighth inch wingspan, 31 and 3/4 inch arms, runs very well, twitched up for a linebacker, 4.58, 40-yard dash. He has good speed to shoot downhill and get sideline to sideline. He definitely pursues with different gears and has serious closing burst. That lengthy frame allows him to make tackles in the open field, navigate traffic. He does have a lot of special teams value with a lot of punt coverage reps. He's not the best prospect with dropping back in coverage, but he can get slippery, getting through gaps, and has violent hands to punch off blocks. The potential is certainly there for Mondon. This is unfortunately another player who does have some injury concerns. He's a little bit slender. He's probably maxed out physically. He was arrested and charged with reckless driving in July of 2024. Continues to be a huge problem for that Georgia program. And durability, definitely a question mark. Foot injury. And on top of that, had labrum surgery and then a meniscus cleanup. And so those are definitely problems. But Eagles taking a chance on a linebacker from Georgia who's a really good athlete. And they need depth at that off-ball linebacker spot. He's just going to have to get better with some of his coverage skills. B- on the grade here for Mondon. Drew Kendall was selected by the Eagles also in round 5 at 168. He has NFL bloodlines. His father was an NFL offensive lineman. What a great way to learn growing up as a football player than from your dad, who knows exactly what it takes to make it to the NFL level. When the Eagles drafted him today, they did list him as a guard and center, but when he was at Boston College, he primarily only played center. And so Jeff Stoutland will look to develop Kendall into a multi-positional player. He was a first-team All-ACC player this past year, 13 games played, 78.8 overall Pro Football Focus grade, only 1 sack allowed, a team captain, very high character, heady football player with a good IQ. I imagine he got that from his pops. He shields well in pass protection, moves well in zone blocking setups. The position flexibility is there, and the flexibility is there, but you just question, can he do it soon? Will he be able to do it at all? Because he has 0 non-center reps. You trust Jeff Stoutland to be able to maximize the player. I like how fluid he is. I like the coordinated footwork. Doesn't really panic if he gets beat. And he's a smart player. Also very durable. And we've talked a little bit about injury concerns with some of these prospects. He's started 37 games the past 3 years, including 31 straight to finish his career. And backup center is a little bit of a need for the Eagles here behind Cam Jurgens, who they just gave a lot of money to. Most guaranteed dollars for a center in the NFL and second most in average annual value. My grade here, B. I think that he can end up being a really good player, and I think he has a lot of promise for Philadelphia. A little bit of a surprising pick for the Eagles here in round 6 at 181 as they take Kyle McCord, the quarterback, out of Syracuse. He is from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. He grew up an Eagles fan. He idolized Donovan McNabb. He went to St. Joe's Prep, where he was throwing the rock to Marvin Harrison Jr. They won a state championship together. And then he went to Ohio State, where he won a lot of games, but he was very inconsistent. Ohio State decided to move off of him, and they went with Will Howard, who is from Downingtown, another local guy. And it worked out for Will Howard and Ohio State. Won the national championship this past year. But transferring to Syracuse and playing with lesser talent around him worked out great for Kyle McCord. He's actually one of my favorite quarterbacks in this class. He has really good size at 6'3", 218 pounds. He has a strong arm. He's accurate. He puts the ball in a place where his receivers can go get it. He is not very mobile out of structure, but he does have pocket mobility. I like his gunslinger mentality. He's pretty aggressive. He will stand in the pocket. He will take a hit. He's very cool, calm, and collected. It is very telling how he played better in 2024 with less talent than in 2023 at Ohio State when he was surrounded by a bunch of NFL players. He is very smart pre-snap and was able to go through his progressions. I wouldn't say he has a bazooka for an arm, but he can certainly push the ball downfield. He led the country in passing yards this year with nearly 4,800. He had 37 touchdowns, 12 picks. That's the aggressiveness there. Sometimes he'll make some dumb throws, but ball security within the pocket, no fumbles, pretty good accuracy there at 66%. And he pretty much shattered every passing single season record at Syracuse. And the program went from being awful to winning double-digit games under Fran Brown. And Kyle McCord was a huge reason for that. That Syracuse program loved him. His teammates absolutely loved him. And the Eagles have deemed themselves a quarterback factory. And they don't have a lot of needs on this roster. So I was a fan of the Eagles drafting Kyle McCord. There's no rush to play him. They can continue to develop him over the next few years. And I believe that he can be a good player in this league. And I imagine he'll compete with Dorian Thompson-Robinson to be QB3 behind Jalen Hurts and behind Tanner McKee. B grade here. Add a developmental player to your developmental program at the most important position in football. Myles Hinton, offensive tackle, selected by the Eagles in round 6 at 191. When he was a freshman in high school, he was starting to get offers from some of the top programs all across the country. He originally went to Stanford, elected to not follow his brother, who was an excellent player, to Michigan, and then he ended up transferring to Michigan. And he never quite fully lived up to his expectations as a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. He certainly played a lot while he was in college, and he has tackle versatility at right tackle and at left tackle. But for how big he is, sometimes he ended up on the ground a little bit too often. Sometimes he doesn't play as physical as you would like to see him play. Definitely a solid athlete paired with a high football IQ. You certainly need that when you go to Stanford. They have rigorous academic standards. Definitely offers the traits that you want, but he just needs to finish a little bit more often. And for how athletic he is, sometimes he plays a little bit too tall. His hand placement is often sometimes too low, so that will let edge rushers kind of rip through him a little bit. When he went to Michigan for the 2023 season, he was kind of a big pickup for Jim Harbaugh, but he didn't start a lot of games in 2023. The Wolverines went with a jumbo package. They rotated him in and out of the lineup, and they used a lot of 6 offensive lineman sets. And then last year, he started every game that he played, but you just see some of the gaps on tape with him. So I'm going to go C grade. I don't think there's a huge chance that he ends up making this roster for Philadelphia, but anytime you take an offensive lineman under Jeff Stoutland, you're excited to see what that player at this size can do with some good coaching and development. That being said, I love this pick of Cameron Williams, the offensive tackle out of Texas. He is a mauler. He is a mountain of a man, and he declared for the draft pretty late in the process. It came as a surprise to a lot of people. If he went back to Texas for the 2025 season and played this upcoming college season and played well, we are talking about a player who, again, if he played well, would have gotten some legitimate first-round buzz. So Cameron Williams is a player with first-round talent who the Eagles got in the 6th round. There is a lot to like with Cameron Williams, the wingspan, the arm length. I think eventually he too can have some positional versatility. We're talking about a player here who has an 84.5-inch wingspan with 34.5-inch arms. He's definitely a little bit raw, and because of that, a lot of penalties the last couple of years. He's going to need time to fix his technique issues, but great physical tools. At the combine, he measured in at 6'5", weighed in at 317 pounds. At his pro day somehow, he was 17 pounds heavier. I think he's more like that, 6'5", 334. He did have to get a knee surgery, and that's why he didn't run at the combine or at his pro day. But this is a big-bodied blocker with a broad frame, massive lengths. They look like tree trunks. He has good leverage in the run game. He's comfortable climbing and locating a target to block in space. He's still very young, and I think he's yet to play his best football. He's only 21 years old. And so a little bit of a risk for him to go into the NFL draft, because he could have made a lot more money if he would have returned to Texas, but obviously there were concerns there. Like Mekhi Becton, similar game, and maybe he's best as a guard at the next level. But if he goes to guard, he can be a mauler there. Like Mekhi Becton, some conditioning issues, some weight issues. A couple of years ago as a sophomore, he was 370 pounds. So since then, he's lost 40-plus pounds. My grade here for what he can become, first-round talent, and you get him in round 6, A grade. And I think that he could be one of the biggest steals of this draft. I believe that to be true for another Eagles 6th-round pick in Antoine Pal Ryland, edge rusher out of Virginia Tech. He began his career at Florida. He then wanted to be closer to home. And people will say, I don't think he has the size to play defensive end or edge at the NFL level. Well, hold on. He's almost 6'3", 258 pounds. And sometimes I think we worry a little bit too much about the measurables. He was a highly, highly productive player while in college. And his arms are a little bit shorter. The wingspan is a little bit shorter. But think about what he's done the last couple of years. Extremely productive with a more developed pass rush skill set than a lot of other people out there. The technique is certainly there. Maybe he's a situational pass rusher in the NFL, not the best run defender. Sometimes he can struggle with missed tackles, but him struggling with missed tackles, that discounts the fact that he was a TFL machine. The last 3 years from 2022 onward, 6 TFLs, 14 and a half, 19. This past year, 19 TFLs and 16 sacks. Value, production, again, the wingspan, under 77 inches, just over 76 in fact. The arm length, 31 and a quarter. That's why sometimes he can miss tackles. At the same time, ran a 4.69 40-yard dash at nearly 260 pounds. I think that he could be a really solid player at the NFL level. And again, late day 3 guy. So B+ here for Antoine Pal Ryland. We'll go a little bit faster for the last few picks here. Or that was the last pick, right? Yeah, last pick here for Philadelphia. Antoine Pal Ryland. Been a long last 3 days. And the Eagles went into this draft with 8 picks. They ended up making 10 selections. And it's been a while since Howie Roseman has made this many picks in a draft, and the Eagles do it in a year where they didn't have that many needs. And so all of the Eagles picks here, Jihaad Campbell, round 1, 31st overall. Andrew Makuba in round 2 at 64. Ty Robinson, round 4, 111. McWilliams, round 5, 145. Smael Mondon, linebacker, Georgia, round 5, 161. Drew Kendall at 168 in round 5. And then Kyle McCord, Myles Hinton, Cameron Williams, and Antoine Pal Ryland, all in round 6. I think Howie Roseman did a pretty good job with this draft class. There were definitely some reaches. Another interesting theme is that a lot of the Eagles' picks, since Howie took back GM duties in 2016, have been on top 30 visits to the Eagles. No top 30 visits for this class. I think the Eagles were like, we're getting too predictable, and teams know who we're going to take. So this time they go outside of their comfort zone. Hopefully it doesn't burn them. Grade the Eagles 2025 NFL Draft, A, B, C, D, or F. You let me know which you think. I'm going solid B for Philadelphia this year.